And we'll move on to Roadmap Task Force 7.4, consideration
Thank you, Pam.
of Clear Lake Oaks Roadmap Task Force Community-Driven Revitalization Action Plan.
Thank you, Pam.
Thank you, Pam.
Why is Mary walking the wrong way?
Out the back door.
You're done with that. No, this
Not-
is
not
the
quite last.
thing.
Not
We're
quite
gonna be here
last.
forever. It's like the song that never ends.
Oh, yeah. I hope 4 o'clock.
Close too long. Session item.
It's very awkward to look at that video.
Mr. Chair, real quick, should I advise the Deputy Water Resources Director that you would like her next?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes, please.
thank you.
All right, we're ready when you are, Director Darby.
She's already on Zoom.
Which one is it?
The first one?
It's been a long day. His excitement just wasn't the same this time.
Yeah, it wasn't. We're a little disappointed.
It worked.
He's ignoring us.
He's trying really, really hard. There it is.
Now,
No face.
So good afternoon, Board of Supervisors and fellow colleagues. How are you doing this afternoon? I am Director Darby, and I have with me today
Marcus Beltramo, Code Enforcement Manager.
And today, we are going to present for your consideration the Roadmap Task Force Community Pilot Program for Clear Lake Oaks, a community-driven revitalization action plan. So, what is the purpose of the Roadmap Task Force Revitalization Community Pilot Program? Basically, it is to revitalize, secure, and beautify the Clear Lake Oaks neighborhoods through a community-driven revitalization action plan. It's to build a partnership between the county and the Clear Lake Oaks citizens to combat blight, crime, and illegal activities. It's to empower citizens to push for the effort to beautify and protect their communities, and to offer readily available mechanism for citizens to report violations, code violations, law violations. And it is also to create more security for Clear Lake Oaks to attract new residents and businesses. In 2021, of August, the Roadmap Task Force adopted the Board of Supervisors adopted the Roadmap Task Force initiative, and they allocated a budget of approximately $1 million through the cannabis tax on this project. So who are our partners for the Roadmap Task Force? So for the successful initiative of the Roadmap Task Force, a partnership was formed between the Lake County Board of Supervisors, the Law Enforcement Department, the Community Development Department, in particular the Code Enforcement Division, Animal Control Department, the District Attorney's Office, and the East Region Town Hall, Municipal Advisory Council, better known as EARTH. So what is the vision of the Roadmap Task Force Community Pilot Program? The vision is to revitalize the Clear Lake Oaks community through safety and beautification efforts. And the mission is to empower citizens to spearhead the safety and beautification efforts through the code enforcement complaint line that currently exists. There are goals associated with this particular task force, and the goals are to identify and maximize available resources to reduce crime and blight, promote public safety, and enhance community beautification. In order to do so, the Roadmap Task Force, it would initiate this through 2 phases. Phase 1 would focus on safety, and Phase 2 will later come back and focus on beautification of the Clearlake Oaks community. So, what is a community-driven roadmap task force program? Basically, it's a neighborhood beautification program that's not a fix-up-your-backyard day. It's rather a strategy to maintain, enhance, and/or change the character of a neighborhood over a long period of time. The focus should be a long-term vision for the neighborhood with best management practices for sustainability, with some aspects that should be geared towards safety, cleanliness, greenery, streetscape enhancements. The boundaries of the Roadmap Task Force is illustrated here in this particular map, but to the east, it is located along Sulphur Bank Drive. To the south, Island Drive. To the north, just south of High 20, and to the west of Stubb Road. Timeline for the Roadmap Task Force that is being proposed is a 3-year program in year 2021. The scope of the pilot program study area was identified and partnerships were formed, and also a digital database began to be initiated of the 2,000 properties that are located within the Clearlake Oaks proper. In year 2, we are continuing to collect the baseline data for the Roadmap Task Force unit, and 2 code enforcement officers were identified or hired to oversee the operations of the program. A resolution, which you will have before you today for consideration, is being recommended, and we are proposing to approach the POA for participation through Earth. Year 3, we propose to evaluate the successes of the program and to continue to work along improving the baseline data. And from this point, I'm going to turn it over to Code Officer Manager Marcus.
All right, thank you. All right, so the Roadmap Task Force, how will this work? So this flow chart here kind of illustrates the process that we're going to go through to address and identify the violations, and then to go through our processes to correct them and to bring the situations into compliance. The one thing I do want to highlight here is the the box in red, about notifying our partners, communication with our partners. Again, this is a comprehensive program. We have to work together to make this program work, and communication with our partners here is the only way that we can accomplish this goal. Phase 1 is a multi-pronged approach, which includes collaboration and cooperation focused on properties that have co-occurring criminal and zoning violations, is an effective tool in bringing safety to neighborhoods, increasing values to properties. Focusing efforts and a more direct effort will bring more immediate and identifiable results, as opposed to spreading our already scarce resources over a broad area. The quality of life issues that will be identified and remedied will lead to improved safety in the community by demonstrating our willingness to take action when such co-occurring prohibited activities are identified. Multiple agencies working together will be more effective than those same operating independently of one another. When it comes to working with law enforcement and code enforcement, there's a certain place where we can only go so far, where law enforcement has to pick up. And there's certain things only so far law enforcement could go, where code enforcement has to pick up. So it's a collaboration, working together to address these issues and to bring the Clearlake Oaks situation into compliance, and also to make it a better place. Phase 2, the beautification program approach, forms partnerships with local organizations to rehabilitate, restore, repair the aesthetics of the community, keep the program going forward for life. Those partnerships, again, Habitat for Humanity, North Coast Opportunities. I'm sure we're going to come across and identify other nonprofits that can help us achieve these goals. I'm really excited about the beautification phase of this project and really look forward to it. How would complaints be filed? We already have a system in place within the Code Enforcement Division to handle complaints. This is where we kind of rely on the community, also as a partner, to let us know what their issues are and what's going on. I mean, they live in the neighborhood, they know the issues of concern, they know what affects their life and the comfortability of the enjoyment of their properties. Through this, they can file a written complaint or they can file an online complaint. But this is where we need the Clearlake Oaks proper area to kind of come forth and let us know what issues are of concern and where we should address and focus our energies. What complaints will be enforced is high priority. Obviously, any condition dangerous to human life, unsafe, detrimental to the public health or safety, the existence of garbage, rubbish, refuse, or waste matter and weeds upon the premises contrary to the county code and/or which creates a fire hazard. Any items causing an unsightly appearance which is visible from the scenic corridor, that would be Highway 20, or public right-of-way or sites of neighboring properties, or which provides harborage for rats and other vermin, or creates a potential health hazard or public nuisance. Abandoned, dismantled, wrecked, or inoperable motor vehicles, motorcycles, recreational vehicles, trailers, campers, boats, or parts thereof, and any failure to obtain the necessary permits other than what's allowed to legally cultivate or have cannabis on their properties. How will the violations be corrected? Obviously, voluntary compliance is where we want to start. And this is kind of adds to the community partnership. You know, communities have to hold their neighbors accountable too. You know, they have to hold their neighbors to the standards that they all want to live by. And if I'm keeping my property nice, you should keep your property nice, and then we'll all have nice properties. If that doesn't work, we will then start the process for administrative fines. And if that doesn't work, we'll ultimately abate the issues. Hazardous vegetation also has some tools that will also help enforce compliance. And legal cannabis, the administrative penalties and fines that's recently been issued. We have a stiff penalty per plant that will also help us to correct the issues and help this program work. How do I become involved? Attend an earth meeting. Again, I believe they usually occur at the Moose Lodge. Wimpy Burger Night, I believe that's what goes on there. And, or contact your property owners association or contact the County of Lake Community Development. There's multiple avenues here for you to become involved. You should become involved. You should reach out to us. You should express your concerns. Again, it only works if you can help us to work for you. So how do I become involved? Attend or contact one of these three entities. And the people involved, we have the supervisor, Eddie J. Crandall, Supervisor Bruno Sabatier, Sheriff Brian Martin, Director of Animal Control, Jonathan Aramis, my director, Mary Darby, Sergeant Aaron Clark at the Sheriff's Department, Lieutenant Rich Ward at the Sheriff's Department, myself. We'll have 2 officers dedicated to this area. They have a strategy. They're going to be aggressive. They're going to go after it. That's Norman, Joey Valdez, and Officer Antonio Chavez. And then for cannabis, we have 1 dedicated officer, and that's Linda Rosas Bill. This is the people that you would contact and the people responsible for making this program work. All right. And in addition to that strategy I referenced earlier, we do have priority areas. Nothing works without a plan and a strategy, and then implementing that plan and strategy to maximize its benefits. The first area, obviously, is the Scenic Corridor, Highway 20. I believe everybody in this county knows the importance of Highway 20. It's the main artery through the county. It's the lifeblood of this county. It's the most scenic highway in the county. We have to treat it as such. It's a protected area. So that's the first place we're going to focus on. So everybody living on Highway 20, we will be going to assessing your properties, assessing the issues on your property, and looking to enhance those situations and bring them into compliance. Second would be the commercial zone. This kind of runs hand in hand with Highway 20. The main commercial zones in that area are located on Highway 20. I think Bruno, or Supervisor Sabate, has made a particular emphasis on developing commercial projects, and on Highway 20, we need to develop that area and clean up that area so that we can have more commercial businesses and bring businesses, what creates jobs. So that's the second prong of the strategy. The third is recreational zones, parks, those things abutting a lake, things where people would congregate and community can come together and create that neighborhood or that neighborly atmosphere. And the fourth would be the residential zone, where people live, where they live their lives, where they raise their children's. We got to focus on that, bring that up, and correct those issues. Again, it boils down to a quality of life. If you have a positive environment, that energy can have a domino effect and create positive situations moving forward.
So, thank you, Manager Marcus. I just wanted to say also that currently the Community Development Department Code Enforcement Division is sharing their list of complaints with the Sheriff Department. We have approximately 156 complaints in the Clearlake Oaks proper area, and the Sheriff Department has approximately 25. So we wanted to share that. So why are we here before you today? So we are proposing that you consider, review, and approve a resolution so we can implement the Roadmap Task Force Community Pilot Program and begin to outreach to the POAs in the community to actually start to implement this program. And that would conclude our presentation, unless you have any questions.
Vice Chair Scott?
Just want to thank you for this presentation. This is very exciting. I wish we were starting in my area, but we have to start somewhere, so I'm excited for this. My question was going to be, how are we reaching that community to get those complaints? But hearing that you have 156 complaints already from that community, I assume we're doing already a really good job reaching out, letting that community know that this is what we're doing there. What have we done other than going to the town halls to let that community know what exactly is happening in that area?
So that list is actually kind of is retroactive in a sense, so it's compiled of current issues and past issues. A lot of the past issues have not been resolved and brought up to the standards that are expected, so we felt that we would address all those issues, and that's what that part of that list is comprised of. But how this is going to work is it's going to spread. As we get more involved, have more presence and higher visibility in the area, hopefully word of mouth will spread around. We're talking to the property owners associations. We're having town hall meetings. Supervisor Crandall's getting the word out there. The more that code enforcement is out there, the more that law enforcement is seen out there. It's a small community, and small communities talk. And once they see us out there doing something, hopefully that'll have an energy and kind of move forward. I believe through this presentation also, hopefully this is the unveiling. Hopefully we get the support and approval, and hopefully the people in the community will start talking about this, and they will know something will happen and something will be happening shortly.
Well, I really appreciate all this work, and I think you're right, just the visibility. Criminals don't want to be seen, so if the more we're out there being visible, maybe they'll move on, hopefully, to another county.
Supervisor Sabatier?
So I wanted to say a few things. Number one, we sat down with Director Darby and Sheriff Martin, Supervisor Crandall, and myself. We wanted to hash out what's our plan, because we have a limited amount of time, a limited amount of money. We need to make sure that we strategically walk through this and make sure we come out with results. What was amazing was that Director Darby has had a similar type of project, I believe, back in Georgia. And so she brought how to get the community involved in this project. So our sheriff will be doing what our sheriff needs to do. Code enforcement will be doing what code enforcement needs to do. And if we can get and generate some participation from the public to clean their own place up, to pick up trash as they're walking around in their neighborhood, to help us to beautify and identify the areas that need our attention, that's when we're going to be able to win and make those long-term changes. There was a list of all of the folks that are participating. I just want to make sure and clarify that only 4 of those are coming out of that $1 million budget. The rest are just other participants. That $1 million budget allowed us to hire 2 code enforcement officers and 2 deputies to be able to work with us on this. But what I see this as being, when we started the conversation about what's the action plan, there was never in my mind a thought of it's coming back as a resolution. But what I see this resolution as being is the same thing that we just did earlier. It holds fire to our feet by telling the public this is what we plan to do, and now that we've approved it, we better do it. And so I appreciate it, appreciate the hard work and the fact that you have that level of experience already in your past, and I'm looking forward to the results.
Supervisor Pyska?
I think this is exciting. I miss being on that task force, but that's okay. I'm wondering if you're doing any like local community campaign, like a sign or something. We did that in the Rivieras when there was a cleanup of lots. There would be a sign put out, or we do that for broom buster events. If somebody has cleaned up their yard, they get a broom buster award and they can stick it in their yard. And it just kind of brings a little bit more pride. It can have a fun logo, something easy, and it's not expensive, but it gets kind of everybody energized and wanting to participate and do a little bit more.
I think that's a great idea, and I'm totally up for it. So if the board approves it and the community, so our next step, if the board approves this resolution, then our next step is to actually work with the community. So we don't want to dictate to them. We really want it to be a community-driven initiative. And so I'm looking forward to being out there with my boots on the ground and being in the community. So,
Awesome.
So thanks
Yep. A little banner here and there, like, we're in this together.
Supervisor Spotted?
And I forgot to mention one thing. What I love the way that Director Darby kind of went about building this plan for us today is this is a pilot program with the anticipation of moving it to another community. It wasn't focused specifically about how to deal with Clearlake Oaks. It was really focused on what does a plan, no matter where we put it, look like. And I appreciated that because that is the idea and the concept. That's why it's important for us to be successful in what we're going to do.
All right. Supervisor Simon?
Yeah, glad to see this today and have the conversation, but I did, in your guys' conversations as you're looking at the plan going forward, was it ever considered to bring in public health or behavioral health? Because all we're talking about here is cleaning up the properties and dealing with that. If we're looking at a sustaining community revitalization, there are going to be folks in there that may need more services. There may be a homeowner that just, can't deal with cleaning the yard and doing things, but a homeowner. So I just have that question when we're talking about it as did that conversation ever come up? Because some folks might just need some help, or pointed in the right direction, and that might be the way to get them engaged in the community, and then it kind of full circle, I'm just wondering if those conversations happened.
Well, an idea about that is that when we have the behavioral health van going out and doing mobile visits, is to maybe focus on that community like 2 days a week instead of 1 day a week.
Yeah, or a cleanup day. You guys are talking about a large cleanup day, having that behavioral health and public health, it's something from that to say, hey, here's services, you may need there. But anyway, getting them engaged in the community, I think it's a big part of it, because we can clean the home up, but as we know, 5 years later, we might be cleaning the same place up. Mm-hmm. And so maybe there were some other needs there. So if we're thinking about it, I put it out there. I like the program. I got no problem. Not saying change anything, but I think those conversations need to happen. Especially behavioral health is over on that side anyway, some of their main offices. So making sure that it's out there, so we're not only cleaning the community, but also getting that engagement of, hey, if you need some help, here's some resources for you. I think the van's a great idea.
And we
on
have a
cleanup
public health
day.
van too.
Yeah,
So we'll
so-
have both of them. That's great.
So anyway, that's one thing I wanted to mention.
So the answer is no, and thank you for saying that, because yes, that is something that needs to be looked at, because everyone has a different life situation that requires a different hand of being provided. And so thank you for that. Yes, that is absolutely something that we'll be continuing to bring into our conversation as we continue our conversations about the Roadmap Task Force. So thank you.
I just want to chime in on that regarding fixing up properties. Code enforcement has already had a conversation with North Coast Opportunities. They have a grant, and they've reached out to us. So those properties that are red tagged, where they need some cosmetic help or some contractors to come and help them fix up their property, that's something we already do. And that's part of this program, is working with them to identify these properties where a homeowner needs a little bit of help. We come across elderly persons that need some help, and so we refer them out to North Coast Opportunities, and part of this is bringing them in as a partner to help those people fix up their homes.
Yeah, I think that's all great. What I'm talking about is the fixing the residents, might need help, might just need that, hey, where do I go? And I'm self-medicating, I need some help, I'm a property owner, I want to be involved in the community, but where's that community involved? So public health and behavioral health, just a suggestion from my point.
I think it's a good one.
Thank you for that.
So I'll open it up to public input. Do you see anybody online?
Oh, sorry, wasn't looking. There's a hand from Katie Moore.
All right, Katie, if you can unmute, you have 3 minutes.
Hi there, Katie Moore, Anderson Springs Firewise Council. 2 questions for you. What, for those homeowners, property owners who are unable or unwilling to comply with code enforcement requirements, what is the appetite and budget of the county to actually push forward with truly mitigating those properties? Second part of my question is, my experience with code enforcement is that enforcement of the hazardous vegetation ordinance on vacant lots has been pretty hit and miss. How will you enforce the hazardous vegetation ordinance for vacant lots within Clearlake Oaks? Thank you for the opportunity to comment.
Thank you.
So we deal with Katie Moore a lot, and I understand her concerns very clearly. So one, there is a nuisance abatement fund of approximately about $400,000. That's about 4 times the amount of money we have for the whole county. So there are ample funds to address these issues if we do need to go into abate them and correct those issues. Number 2, regarding hazardous vegetation, that is something we need to get better at, but I have had conversations with Mike Ciancio, the fire chief for the North Shore there, and it seems like we're in conversations regarding a program that he may have together where we may be able to address these hazardous vegetation issues with the crew that he's put together. So that is something that is kind of in process, and hopefully that partnership with the North Shore Fire Department will help address those hazardous vegetation issues on vacant properties that need to be addressed.
Is there any other public comment, do you see?
No hands.
All right, hearing none, I'll bring it back to the board.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve the roadmap task. I offer the resolution. Thank you.
Resolution has been offered. Johanna?
Maybe it helps sometimes.
Supervisor Simon?
Yes,
Supervisor Sabatier?
Aye.
Supervisor Scott?
Aye.
Supervisor Pyska?
Yes.
And Supervisor Crandall?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for the presentation. Thank you for the work you've done on this. We appreciate it, and we look forward to seeing that work out, and then, of course, going around the whole county so we can eventually have a robust task force for every area. Yeah. Thank you.
thank you.